Thailand attracts all types of people. But who are these people actually? In a small series of videos I try to figure out who the people are behind the travelers of Thailand. Can we start at the beginning? What's your name and where you're from?
Well, my birth name is George Alfred Humphrey.
Okay.
A good English name. I was born in a little town in Michigan called Kalamazoo, Michigan. I had a wonderful, wonderful set of parents. My mother and father were both pretty cool people, and I had a really idyllic Ozzie and Harriet upbringing. I'm really old.
Oh, can I ask you how old are you?
I'm 75.
75, okay,
Yeah.
you wouldn't say, okay.
And so, back in the day, when things were all nice and perfect and, you know, Ozzie and Harriet represented the perfect family.
All right, okay.
And so I've been very, very fortunate in all the opportunities that I've had.
And you grew up
Yes.
in a very nice environment.
Yes.
And you just told me off camera real quick that you had your own TV show
Oh yeah, I've done.
in America.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about this?
I've done a lot of different things in my life. One of the things that I did was that I was a city councilman in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And Austin, I don't know if your viewers know it, but Austin was a very beautiful, and it still is, a very beautiful, progressive city. There was a very active political movement by the environmentalists in the neighborhoods.
Okay.
I'm kind of the one who's always talking about how we make things better. So I would interview people from all over the state and all over the country. But then after I left the city council, I had a television show in Austin, Texas.
Right.
And have you ever heard of a guy called Alex Jones? Alex Jones is perhaps the most famous conspiracy theorist in the whole world.
All right. Would you call yourself a conspiracy theorist?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I sure would.
Yeah.
And for a long time, people would say, oh, it's a conspiracy theorist. And for many, many years, I just had to go, okay, but just look at the facts.
But do you think the Earth is flat, for example, or?
Oh, that is a great question. And even though I'm extremely opinionated, I'm also an astrologer.
All right.
I've been doing astrology for many, many years. And my belief system is that we live on a globe and that there's planets. And so even though I've read about the flat Earth and a lot of the information seems very objective, I'm not a flat earther.
Right, because you kind of believe in that science that we have right now, the tools that we have.
Yeah, and it's an important question. And you know what? I'm going down almost every rabbit hole in the world. And on that one, I just kind of go, I hear both sides.
Yeah.
And I'm not...
But what kind of conspiracies do I have to think of? Like, what makes a conspiracy theorist a conspiracy theorist?
Well, there's the old saying, as you know, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And in my country, which is for years the primal, I am a 100% patriot. I believe in the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, and I believe in what's good of the United States. But I also know that there is a lot of things that are not good about the United States, and a lot of selfish people have been in positions of power and are doing things that are not for the best of our country or our world. Okay. And there's dozens and dozens of those issues.
But I follow you here. Still, I don't see myself as a conspiracy theorist.
That's fine.
But I don't see any conspiracy theory behind this.
Neither do I.
No, okay.
Yeah, it's like, when people call me conspiracy theorist, and they don't so much people who know me, they know I do my homework. They know, at least from my own point, I believe what I'm saying. So
can you say something about what you believe, which you think a lot of people don't believe in?
Well,
which makes you, I think, a conspiracy theorist.
One of the big things that for a long time, and people are changing their point of view, I have been opposed to the attack of the Israeli government on the people in Gaza.
All right.
And I'm not pro or anti-Arab, but I just don't like killing women and children. And there's a lot of people in the United States, especially what are called Christian Zionists, who have a different point of view. And I have members of my family who are Christian Zionists.
Okay.
And when I talk about the fact that I don't like all the mass murder or what's called genocide, they get really angry with me.
Yeah, it's a difficult
It's
subject.
very
sensitive.
It's very sensitive.
Yeah.
And I do my best to make sure that I say that not all the people in Israel are part of this.
Yeah.
I have many Israeli friends who are opposed to what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's like many things. There's 50 shades of gray.
100%.
And there's always 2 or more sides to each story.
And so I've got the feeling we only got so much time.
Yeah.
Let's go back to, because I'm basically curious about the travelers behind, like the stories behind. Who are the people who are here very often, or who are the people who are just starting traveling?
Yeah.
So
that's a lot more fun to talk about, isn't it? Yes.
So your first name, your original first name, or
My original first name is George, but I used to live in India. I lived with a guru in India by the name of Sai Baba for many years.
And how did you end up, or how did you get there in the first place? Why did you go there?
Oh, because I'm an I can explain it astrologically. If you saw my astrological chart, you'd understand that I'm interested in the metaphysical, and I'm interested in 3 great questions.
Okay.
Who am I and who are you? Who are we really? Where did we come from?
Okay.
And why are we here? Those are the most important questions. And so again,
can we start with why are we here? That's a fascinating question. Why are we here?
in my opinion,
as a human
race, I believe in quantum theory. I believe that everything is energy.
Yeah.
Everything is interconnected.
I believe so too.
And I also believe that there is a prime, original, loving creator, what we'll call God.
Okay.
And that there are what are called universal laws. And the universal laws are real simple. Okay. Telling the truth, being relatively peaceful, loving yourself and family and others, being relatively nonviolent, and doing your work for the world. And that's called Dharma. And everybody has a slightly different Dharma. My Dharma is I've got a big mouth. and I talk to people about the things that I believe in.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm asking you about as well.
A good question.
I think, one of the main reasons why I travel is because I'm curious.
Yes.
And that's probably the reason why I am here right now, is that I am curious about different cultures, different
You and I are right up the same road.
Okay. So you went to India because you felt or you believed the need was there to go there.
Absolutely. And for me, first of all, it's not for everybody. Everybody's got a different way.
Yeah.
My teacher taught me so much. I mean, if I told you about what are called the miracles that I experienced, you'd run away. You'd stop the interview and go, wow, this guy. But anyway,
I've got a hard time to believe in miracles, really. So maybe
which is understandable.
Okay.
And I'm not here to proselytize.
No. I really respect that. You have your beliefs, your thoughts, and
the main thing is that we as human beings are so much more than we've been taught.
Okay.
And remember this.
So, sorry, I just gotta, because we are drifting a lot. Really.
Yeah,
I've got
we
the
are
feeling.
drifting. Yeah.
But that's okay. But I just try to steer the conversation a little bit into like how did you become like who you are? Like what shaped you? You talk about astrology.
Yes.
Well, this shaped you a lot. I think the knowledge about astrology.
Yes.
What else did happen in your life? Good things, some tragic things, even. Like what made you who you are right now? That's a deep,
very, very deep question. And coming back to one of your original questions, is I've been fortunate enough to travel to 63 different countries.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot more than, and I've traveled all my life. And I've always said that 6 months of traveling around the world, I learned more than 4 years of college in college. And my college was great. But traveling around to different places, I learned so much, and you learned so much, we all learned so much. And that's part of the reason that we're here right now in Chiang Mai. Because it's a great, wonderful place. There's so many things here. The people are Buddhist. They're very gentle. Not all of them, but they're very gentle.
But even for the people who are not Buddhist, I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not too sure what I believe actually. So I'm just like, I know I exist. Well, I think I know I exist.
Yep.
And I make the most of it, and I try to be kind to everyone. That's my belief system. So it's not really a system, really. I just, but for people who are not religious or not Buddhist, like me, maybe, is it still a good place? Because you talk about Buddhism. Is that important at all, or?
It's only important because the people here are pretty, what they call sabai. Like your tuk-tuk driver. What a good guy.
He's a great guy, Alan. Big shout out.
You can go almost anywhere, and it's called the land of smiles. And I like people who smile. You know, there's a lot of places where people are pretty grumpy. And I don't like being around grumpy people. I like being around people who are kind and gentle and nice. The food is great here. The prices are, they used to be very inexpensive, but it's now reasonable. And you'll meet lots of people from all over the world.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned while you were traveling?
Is that people all over the world, whether they be black or white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, we all have certain similarities. Everybody wants to be secure. Everybody wants to be, not everybody wants to be respected. They want to have a place in society. And if you meet people in that way and treat people with respect, then they'll usually respect you and treat you with respect. It's very easy here to do that because people are fairly gentle. There's some countries where people are, but I like to go where I'm happy. And I'm pretty happy almost everywhere, but this is a special, special place. And what you're doing is so important, teaching people it's a big world and there's choices to be made.
Well, I'm narrowing it down to Southeast Asia though, so I'm not too sure if I'm doing the perfect job, but I try to focus on this beautiful part of the world at least. People maybe look at you, maybe they see the thumbnail and they have already straight away an opinion. You're aware of that probably?
Sure. I'm 6'4". I've got long hair. I wear an earring. I talk about a guru in India. I talk about astrology. I talk about conspiracy theories. I'm pretty wild. That's who I am.
But you are a very happy man, I think, right?
Yes.
Well, sorry, I put the words in your mouth there. Are you happy?
I am. I mean, not all the time. There's times that I have sadness, of course. Anybody who says that they've never been thrown from a horse is either never ridden a horse or is a liar. Anybody who says that they haven't had any sadness in their life just is not. We've all had sadness, including myself.
I've got a few things which I'm maybe uncomfortable talking about my sad parts in life. One of them I don't mind talking about is, for example, my dad passed away when he had a decent age actually, and it's just sad enough, you know, losing your dad. And while being 75, I can imagine that both your parents passed away.
My parents both left relatively early. My mother got cancer when I was 19 or 20 years old.
Oh, that's tough.
And she was a great woman. I miss her very much, but
still nowadays.
And my father passed away when I was 25 or 26. Way too young. But their energy is still around me, and I'm grateful for who they were. But that clearly was a sadness. And we all go through that. You know, and I've had other sadnesses. You know, not too long ago, a woman I loved very, very deeply went the other way. and that was her choice, of course. But we've all had romantic sadnesses in our life, and I wish her well.
How long ago was this?
It was about 4 years ago, and I was just crazy.
Yeah, of course. Because how long was your relationship?
About we've been together for about 3 years.
3 years deep.
It was deep, and she was from your country. She was
Dutch.
She was Dutch. She's from Amsterdam.
Wow.
She is and was a very.
Is she now with someone else or something?
Yeah, she's with somebody else, which is her right. And
yeah, but Spain,
I mean, there's always two sides to each story. But I'm very grateful for the time I was with her, and I look back at the way I responded to the breakup, and I wasn't at my highest and my best.
Yeah.
But anyway, hopefully I've learned from it.
That's an interesting story because you told me 4 years ago, and I think I've met you 4 years ago in Pi.
That was right. That was right when that was going on.
It is very interesting because I broke up with a lady before as well. I'm now happily married, and I've got the first one coming actually in February. But I went to Pi after a breakup that I had like 8 years ago, and I went straight to Pi. I felt like that's where I needed to be.
Well, I met this young lady in Pi.
Okay. Pi is a magical place.
Pi is magical.
Yeah.
and do you know the term synchronicity?
I believe so. But
Synchronicity means when unusual energies come together in connection.
Okay.
And just the story that you were in Pi and you were in a breakup at the same time, it's a little bitty synchronicity, but we have, one of the things I'd say to your listeners is always look around. I believe, and I'm way out there, everything happens kind of for a reason.
Okay.
And if we can feel those reasons, then we can navigate in a better way.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Well, some people think like, this guy's just talking rubbish.
They might think that.
Yeah.
And maybe some of it is rubbish, but at least I believe it.
Yeah. Well, I really think that suits you a lot when you say, listen, I think this and I'm comfortable with what I think and I'm happy with what I think.
Yeah.
But other people maybe disagree, and I think everyone should think a little bit like you. I really think that. Not the same like you. I'm sure like there are things that are not likable, but what I hear and what I see, especially the open mind to the world, in a way, to a certain extent.
When I hear it, I can speak like I'm really so cool right now. But when
what's the coolest thing then? I think you're a cool man.
I'm okay, but I'm also very judgmental at times, and I lose. Like 3 or 4 years ago, when the whole what we call the woke revolution was going on, and people said men could have babies, and that we should open our border. Like I live in Texas, and we had 20 million illegal, undocumented people from around the world come in.
Okay.
And, I'm not against them, but I believe just like I believe every individual should have boundaries, we should protect ourselves. And for at least for right now, I think every country should be proud of itself. The United States should have boundaries. Netherlands should have boundaries.
Yeah.
And we should protect it. That doesn't mean we say no to everybody.
Yeah,
but
so that's the thing that I have most difficulties with when I'm in Europe, for instance, where I'm from, and I see that we try to let the people who are in need outside of, like, we put a big wall and there's water and there are ships and military like trying to have these boundaries.
Yeah.
And I know it's a good thing to have boundaries, but at the same time we live in such a world where you put the wealthy in Europe and in America, and then we leave Africa for what it is. And
your point is very, very well taken. And the disparity of income that's happened in the last, it's always been there. But the number of billion, and I'm a capitalist. I like money. I've done well financially, thank you God. And I think it's important. But there are all these multi mega billionaires, and then there is 60% of the world's population are barely able to get enough to pay their rent or eat. I'm just saying that when there's that huge of a difference, there's something wrong. And even though I am not a socialist, I am not a communist, but what we call capitalism is not working. It's creating too much of a divide between people. And those people with the money are controlling my country, and my country, which is still one of, if not the most powerful nation in the world, is doing a lot of shit, a lot of stuff that we shouldn't be doing. I hope that through a raise of consciousness, we can take what Buddha says is the middle path, bring that disparity down. There's always going to be differences. There's always going to, and there should be. People who work harder and who are more talented should get more rewards. But there shouldn't be a handful like this and a whole bunch like this. So I'm with what you're saying. These are very complex issues. But you know what's important is that people talk about it and they can listen, because most people won't listen and consider the other point of view.
So now you're in Thailand for how long?
This time I've been here for 5 months, and I'll probably be here another 4 months.
You're leaving the country, like do the border runs or stuff?
No, I've got a retirement visa.
In Thailand?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I've come to Thailand every year for 21 years. And before that, I used to live in India. And so I spend about 4 or 5 months a year in the United States. And I'm very fortunate. I've got 2 wonderful children.
For 21 years you've been to Thailand?
21 years in a row.
In a row,
Every year.
So before that, when was the first time you actually came to
Thailand?
Thailand?
I actually first came here back in about 92, but I only stopped by. But I started coming here full time in about 2021.
You've been to, back then already, to quite a few countries, I can imagine.
Yeah, I travel. I love to travel.
So what makes Thailand so special over all the other countries? Except from the Buddhism and like...
I have a lot more fun here. I mean, as serious as I am about the New World Order and about all the crap that's going on, I like to have fun. I like to be with people who are full of life and who are laughing and who are doing things. And I find that here, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, there's beautiful women here, and I love women. I'm straight as I can be.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And I like the men the people I know from Australia and Germany and all over. And I love to share stories. I get to read lots and lots of books, and I'm a big book reader.
I'm not really a big reader, but if you have to suggest one book to me, which book should I read?
If I had one book to suggest, and I read this a long time ago, I would suggest the book, The Road Less Traveled.
Okay.
Because you know what? The greatest disease in the world is a psychological disease. It's called victim consciousness. We are taught from a very early age. We're put into schools and we're taught to obey and which is understandable. But we are so much more. And when we learn about our own power, when we learn that we are so much more powerful than we've been taught, then we can live a life of freedom.
Pai is one of your favorite places in Thailand, I can imagine. Where else are you very happy in Thailand?
I love Pai. Of course I love Chiang Mai. I used to love Koh Phangan.
Oh yeah, but not anymore. Is it too busy or too
Koh Phangan,
commercialized?
The energy is, I still love it. It's so beautiful. But the energy's changed a little bit there, and I don't want to go into it because it's kind of negative, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But Koh Samui's, you know, Koh Tao is great scuba diving, but I can go to almost any place in Thailand, and the people are nice.
Yeah, true.
The people are nice.
True. Although I do find people in the north or in Isan less commercialized.
Yeah.
Less about money.
Yes. Like down in Koh Samui in Phuket,
Well, yeah, and then again, there are a lot of different people, but yeah.
Yeah, but they do have good beaches down there.
As well, yeah, you miss them kind of here.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But you know, there's good places to swim, and there's so much, like the elephants here. I mean, there are some elephants up in Pai who are my friends. I've known these elephants for years, and they recognize me, and I recognize them.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Not long ago, I used to fire dance.
Okay.
And have you ever watched the fire dancers?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, and my talent, I've got about this much talent.
Oh, okay.
But I enjoy, to have a fire and going. What a trip!
Yeah.
How much fun can that be?
So, talk about experiences. What is your very best experience here in Thailand?
Well, I've had many good experiences, wonderful experiences. Some of those are not for TV. But
what are we talking about then?
well, I'm a young man. Even though I'm 75 years old and you're a young man, we like life, and life is to be appreciated. And so, like today, I'm going out to the Hare Krishna temple.
Okay.
And I'm not a Hare Krishna, but they have great music. They have great food. The guy who's talking there is a very, very evolved guy. And even though it's not exactly my point of view, if somebody is speaking words of wisdom about truth and love and consciousness, I'm all ears.
Yeah, is he speaking in English then?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's a Russian guy, but he speaks perfect English. Okay. It's in a place called 360 Art, which is not too far from here.
Did something happen while you were traveling which was not so pleasant?
Sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about something that happened which is maybe helping us? Something that we should be aware of?
In Thailand?
Not only in Thailand, but Thailand can be,
It's not always nice when you travel. I mean, sometimes you miss planes, and sometimes you get things stolen, and sometimes people lie to you. All those things happen.
Yeah.
And, it's just life.
Yeah.
But overall, I've been very lucky. Things can change in a minute here.
Yeah.
But overall, the government here is relatively stable. Now, it's not perfect by any means.
It's never perfect. I think, especially let's don't dive into politics.
Yes.
But nothing is, nowhere it's perfect for sure. Hey, we're nearly at the end, and I always ask, and you gave us already so much of your knowledge, so I thank you for that. Experiences. Do you have a last message to the world or some wisdom that you'd like to pass on?
Without going too deep,
without being spiritual,
without being spiritual, everybody knows that things are changing very quickly. Everybody has a choice. And what I would say is really think about what you think is important for mankind, what is highest and best for you and your family and your nation, and have the courage to speak your truth.
Okay. I thank you very much. It has been a real pleasure. It's been a good journey.
It's fast. How long were we going for?
I don't know. Let's check it out. Hopefully you enjoyed this little chat. I personally found it very interesting. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you all for watching till the very end. I'd like to say from the north of Thailand, in the city of Chiang Mai, bye for now and stay champ.